It was Valentine's Day, but there was no love in the air that morning. Just before dawn broke over the cold streets of Chicago, 7 men stepped into what would be their final moments, a grim appointment with death. They couldn't have known that they were walking into the pages of history, pages soaked with blood. Today, this is just a parking lot. The walls of that old garage are long gone, the echoes of gunfire have faded into the city's chaos, and all that remains is a chilling legacy. But some say it's not only history that lingers here, some say they do. Chicago in the 1920s was a city caught in the grip of lawlessness. The streets belonged to men like Al Capone and George "Bugs" Moran, titans of crime locked in a brutal war over territory, power, and the lifeblood of their empires, illegal liquor. By 1929, the violence between their rival gangs had reached its breaking point. Territory was burned for profit, betrayal bred bloodshed, and no deal was ever final. On February 14, in a dingy garage at 2122 North Clark Street, a reckoning was about to unfold. It began as a morning like any other, a morning when no one could have predicted the carnage that would follow. Or could they? 7 men, each had their role in George Moran's North Side gang. Albert Kachek, the enforcer they called James Clark, was the muscle. The Gussenberg brothers, Frank and Peter, were seasoned killers. Albert Weinschenk, mistaken often for Moran himself, stood out in the crowd. Adam Heyer kept the books, Reinhard Schwimmer the connections, and John May, he was just a mechanic, an honest man trying to make a living in a world of crime. But the streets of Chicago had no sympathy for innocence. For them, this was a trap, and its jaws were about to close. At approximately 10:30 a.m., they arrived. 4 men, 2 in police uniforms, the others in civilian clothing. Witnesses would later say the uniforms were convincing enough to make anyone believe a raid was underway. But this was no raid. This was an execution. The men didn't resist. In Chicago, where gangsters and police often worked hand in hand, a routine raid meant bribes would exchange hands, and business would resume as usual. None of them could have imagined what was coming next. 70 rounds of ammunition. 7 men fell to the ground, lifeless. The gunmen walked away, leaving behind a scene so brutal, so calculated, that it shocked even the hardened city of Chicago. But the questions didn't end with the gunfire. Who ordered the massacre? The most obvious answer was Al Capone, Moran's fiercest rival. But Capone had an ironclad alibi. He was vacationing in Florida. The police had no witnesses, no arrests, and no concrete evidence. Speculation ran wild. Did Capone's men disguise themselves as police? Was there a traitor in Moran's circle? Or was it simply the cost of power in a city ruled by crime? The garage is gone now. Torn down in 1967, its bricks scattered to collectors, its story immortalized. But the land remembers. Locals claim the spirits of those 7 men still haunt this site. Cold spots, whispers in the wind, the faint bark of a dog that's long since gone silent. There are those who believe this place is more than a crime scene. It's a scar the city will never fully heal. Time has a way of burying the past, but some events refuse to be forgotten. The St. Valentine's Day massacre left an indelible mark on Chicago's history, and for many, its echoes are more than just memories. February 14th, 1929, a day that would forever haunt the city. 7 men, aligned against a wall, mercilessly gunned down in a brutal display of gang violence. The perpetrators vanished, leaving behind a scene of carnage and a slew of unanswered questions. But the story doesn't end with the chalk outlines and police reports. Over the decades, whispers of the supernatural have intertwined with a historical narrative, suggesting that the spirits of that fateful day remain tethered to the site.
Residents and visitors have reported a range of unexplained phenomena at the massacre site. Some claim to hear the distinct sound of Tommy guns firing in the dead of night, while others have described disembodied screams that pierce the silence.
These auditory apparitions are not the only anomalies reported. Shadowy figures, dressed in attire reminiscent of the Roaring Twenties, have been seen lingering near the site, only to vanish when approached.
I was walking my dog late one evening when I saw a group of men in old-fashioned suits standing by the lot. It struck me as odd given the hour and their attire. As I got closer, they simply faded away. It sent chills down my spine.
The allure of these tales has drawn many to the location, hoping to catch a glimpse of the otherworldly. Ghost tours frequent the area, with participants eager to connect with the past's restless spirits.
People come here seeking a tangible connection to history. The stories they've heard of spectral figures and unexplained sounds make the past feel very present.
Investigators have documented anomalies that defy conventional explanation. EVPs have captured voices uttering names and phrases consistent with the era, and sudden temperature drops have been recorded at the exact spot where the garage once stood.
During one session, we captured a voice saying "Bugs," which was the nickname of George Moran, the intended target of the massacre. There's no logical source for that voice. It's as if the walls themselves are speaking.
The physical remnants of the massacre have long been erased, the garage demolished, the bricks dispersed. Yet, the intangible remains, the stories, the sightings, the sounds. They all suggest that the events of that Valentine's Day continue to resonate, refusing to be silenced by time. History leaves its mark not just in books and memories, but sometimes in the very fabric of a place. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre is a testament to a past that refuses to rest. Its spectral echoes a chilling reminder of a chapter Chicago can never close.
This place, it's not like the others. You don't just feel the history here. You feel the anger. It's like something is waiting for us.
For decades, visitors to the site have reported strange occurrences, phantom gunshots, the sound of men shouting, and shadows that seem to move on their own. But tonight, the investigators are determined to push the boundaries, searching for evidence of what many believe are the restless spirits of the slain.
Did you hear that? It wasn't supposed to be me. It sounds desperate.
Could it be one of the victims? Maybe Frank Gusenberg? He was the only one still alive when the police arrived. He might have been trying to tell them something.
There's a cold spot right here. It's like someone's standing next to me.
But not all the spirits here are bound to the massacre's victims. Some believe the orchestrators of the crime, men loyal to Al Capone, left behind their own traces, and not all of them are friendly.
Hello, who's there?
This is undeniable. 7 figures, just like the 7 men who died here. It's as if they're still trapped in that moment, unable to move on.
Who betrayed you? Was it Bugs Moran or someone else?
Was this the voice of one of the victims, blaming Bugs Moran for the events that unfolded? Or was it something more sinister, something feeding off the tragedy that transpired here?
Who promised? What did they promise you?
I don't like this. It's like it knows we're here.
Good. That means we're getting close. Let's split up and see if we can get more activity. Stay within shouting distance and don't lose sight of your radios. We're here to listen. If you have anything to say, this is your chance. Tell us what happened to you. No way. I'm not imagining this. Guys, I think I just saw something. Get back to the van, now.
He's here? Who do you think they're talking about? One of the victims?
No, this feels different. It's not a victim. It's someone else.
Look outside.
What the hell is going on? That was our best camera.
No, it can't be. Capone was never here. He wasn't part of the massacre.
I didn't have to be here to make it happen. They all danced to my tune and they paid the price.
That was him. That was Al Capone. How is this even possible?
I don't think this place is just haunted by the victims. Capone left his mark on more than just Chicago. He left it on this place, on these people. He's still controlling it, even from beyond the grave.
The St. Valentine's Day Massacre was one of the darkest moments in Chicago's history, but its echoes go far beyond the living. The victims may have been silenced, but the shadow of Al Capone lingers, a reminder that power and corruption leave marks that even death cannot erase.